Good evening. A few hours ago here in New York, President Obama sat down with us to talk about the dangerous situation in Libya and that entire region of the world. We asked him about the speech to the nation he delivered last night, the dangers of U.S. military involvement while already fighting two other wars, and the precedent this may set in other nations, and the fact that this may not go quite as the U.S. and NATO have planned. Notably, as you're about to hear, the president left open the possibility of arming the rebels who are in the fight against Gaddafi in Libya. And hear now a portion of our conversation with the president at this time of high stakes overseas. The moment your speech ended last night, the Associated Press put out an item that read that President Obama's speech was about defending the first war launched on his watch. How does it end?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to note that we've had two wars on my watch. One, which we've wound down, and we do not have combat operations in Iraq anymore. Afghanistan, obviously, is still a tough fight, and that weighs heavily on me in making these decisions. But what was clear to me was we had a unique circumstance to save a lot of lives in this Libyan situation, and that we had an international mandate to do it and an international coalition that was prepared to share the burdens. What we've also done is put Gaddafi back on his heels. And so our expectation is that as we continue to apply steady pressure, not only militarily but also through these other means, that Gaddafi will ultimately step down.
What if it doesn't work? What if the rebels find themselves bogged down? This becomes protracted.
Well, keep in mind that what we've already done is transitioned so that this is now a NATO and international mission. Our role is to provide support, intelligence, jamming capabilities, refueling capabilities. And so we have been able to spread the burdens of maintaining a no-fly zone and protecting civilian populations. And we can do that for quite some time, precisely because we built a strong coalition to make it happen. But Gaddafi's been greatly weakened. He does not have control over most of Libya at this point.
How do you not offer the rebels direct assistance of some sort?
Well, we will be providing them direct assistance.
Military?
Secretary Clinton was in London for a conference today at which multiple countries pledged to provide assistance. Most of the assistance initially is going to be non-lethal assistance, so humanitarian aid. They may need communications equipment. They may need medical supplies, potentially transportation.
Due respect, Mr. President, watching the reportings of our two correspondents in Libya, what it appears the rebels need is military equipment. Some of their equipment dates back to World War II. Are you ruling out U.S. military hardware assistance?
I'm not ruling it out, but I'm also not ruling it in. We're still making an assessment, partly about what Gaddafi's forces are going to be doing. Keep in mind, we've been at this now for 9 days, and the degree to which we've degraded Gaddafi's forces in those 9 days has been significant. Operations to protect civilians continue to take out Gaddafi's forces, his tanks, his artillery on the ground, and that will continue for some time. And so one of the questions that we want to answer is, do we start getting to a stage where Gaddafi's forces are sufficiently degraded, where it may not be necessary to arm opposition groups? But we're not taking anything off the table at this point. Our primary military goal is to protect civilian populations and to set up the no-fly zone. Our primary strategic goal is for Gaddafi to step down so that the Libyan people have an opportunity to live a decent life.
3 weeks from now, if a member of your circle makes an impassioned case to do the same in Syria, to finally decouple it from Iran, what do you do?
Well, as I indicated last night, I think it's important not to take this particular situation and then try to project some sort of Obama doctrine that we're going to apply in a cookie-cutter fashion across the board. Each country in this region is different. Our principles remain the same. We want to make sure that governments are not attacking their own citizens. We believe in core fundamental human rights like freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. We want governments that are responsive to their people, and so we'll use all our tools to try to accomplish that. But Libya was a unique situation where a limited military intervention that had a strong international mandate and strong international participation could make the difference, life or death difference, for a lot of people. And in that situation, it made sense. That does not mean that somehow we are going to go around trying to use military force to impose or apply certain forms of government.
So when people hear words like values and interests and your phrase, the flow of commerce, which some people couldn't help but substitute oil, they shouldn't think that there is any blanket policy. This may be an ad hoc business if this so-called Arab Spring turns into Arab Summer, and we keep at this, watching countries change.
Well, what is absolutely true is that when you start applying blanket policies on the complexities of the current world situation, you're going to get yourself into trouble. And I take the application of military force very seriously, because even in a situation like Libya, there's still risks involved. You saw that we had a plane malfunction. Thank goodness we were able to retrieve those pilots, but it's conceivable that they could have been lost. And so in each of these situations, the application of force is something that, from my perspective, you preserve and are very careful to use. And there are going to be some people who get frustrated by that. Why can't we fix this right away? Why can't we simply impose our will? And it's my job as president to make those decisions based on all the consequences, understanding that we have some experience here in trying to impose our will in places like Iraq. And I think the American people understand the cost of that.
I asked the president about all the other countries where uprisings have started, like Bahrain and Yemen and others, and again, he called Libya a unique case requiring military action. You can see our entire interview online on our website, nightly.msnbc.com.